Oh, you just stop. We had a teaser last week from Big Bang Frank.
Oh,
you guys
boy.
remember?
No.
He said
Totally forgot.
that he knew the two people predominantly responsible for the crash of the real estate market.
Did he say they were sitting in this room?
No, he did not say they were in this studio.
I didn't
Directly
do it.
across
I didn't
from
do
me.
It wasn't me.
Frank, now is the time to out these two people. Who do we have to blame for the real estate crisis in America?
I am adding a soft third to that list, by the way.
Whoa.
So let's hear the
Is that
hard.
even legal?
Let's hear the hard two, and then we'll hear the
Hey,
soft third.
I'm cheating on the trout, all right?
All right.
Okay, don't be cheating the
Depending
trap.
on who it is, this may
If
not
you-
reflect all of our opinions.
If you,
This is a Big Bang Frank opinion.
but if you
until
look
we
at
say
if
so.
you look at some key figures, and I'm talking about going back to the Carter administration, and
Oh.
yes, I am old enough to remember that. I'm looking at a couple of names, and namingly two of them, Barney Frank and Chris Dodd. Okay, and I'm going to throw
Okay.
in the mix Maxine Waters.
Barney Frank
Really?
and Chris
I-
Dodd.
that's-
now for the
I'm not
listeners,
surprised. I'm not
because some of
shocked.
them are college students and they're going, "Who the heck is Barney Frank?"
And who cares?
Tell
Frank
us,
They're the ones
tell us
trying
who,
to fix the mess now.
tell us who Barney Frank, Chris Dodd, and even Maxine Waters are.
Now, Barney Frank is now out of office, but he was a long-standing congressman.
Yeah, I love how they did the law.
Where
and
was he
then they
from? East
retired.
Coast?
Yeah, East Coast. Chris Dodd was a
Yeah.
senator. But basically, these were two that for years were aggressively pushing for the banks to lower their lending standards. Okay, and to throw in the mix, Maxine Waters was thrown in the mix also, and basically the one firing people up to make this a social economic discrimination issue rather than what it really is, which is there are people out there that don't necessarily have bad credit but don't have the income, and they're just people and good lenders like Elisa and Scott here. They don't just throw someone into a loan and into a home right off the bat. If they're not in position to buy now, they will help them get into that position. But it got to the point where guys like Frank and Dodd were pressuring the banks to lower the restrictions and the standards so quickly that almost immediate, no matter what your given situation, if you walked in that room and you could fog up a mirror and had a pulse, you should get a loan for a home, even if you weren't ready. And that's what basically, I believe, truly led up to this crash in
This
the
reflects the
market.
opinion of all the people in the booth.
Yes, it does.
Well,
Yeah.
it reflects the opinion of you three because you understand it.
Well,
'cause I'm learning here.
Okay.
I'm a learner. In
Here's
this.
an interesting part of this is Frank is absolutely right. That's 2 times today.
Whoa!
Holy moly.
Shut the front door.
I'm
Frank,
gonna
I
have to
think
retire.
you need to buy us lunch.
Well, here's the interesting
On a
thing
roll.
about this, because you touched on this specifically. What they did is they addressed this as what was called the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act.
Yes.
Yep.
And the Community Reinvestment Act was created that required FDIC-insured lending institutions to lend a certain percentage of their money to low to moderate income families. And this was done at reduced interest rates. It was usually about a 1% lower than what you could get on the market. Now, what happened is Dodd and Frank and Maxine Waters, they put pressure on Congress to basically reclassify what type of loan qualified for that program. And initially, it was just 30-year fixed Fannie Mae or FHA programs.
But what it did was it kicked in all of
Everybody
these
else.
bad subprime
Yeah.
mortgage loans.
So they
subprime.
redesignated, and you can. There's some great YouTube videos of C-SPAN from the 80s where congressmen were battling against them, telling them that this is irresponsible and that it's going to do exactly what happened today. And this is just C-SPAN, conversations with Maxine Waters sitting there saying, no, you have to do this to help people. But what they did is they reclassified subprime liar loans basically as CRA eligible. So the banks looked like they were doing a great thing for the community by offering money to people that couldn't afford homes. And then that's what started this entire mess. Frank is absolutely
And what's so
right.
ironic is that the same two people come back to try to fix.
Exactly.
And it created, to me, kind of even more of a mess.
Or wash their hands of it,
Yeah.
basically.
And then retired.
I believe in the early 2000s, the Bush administration was trying to basically put pressure that Fannie and Freddie should be looked into a little more on their lending as well, their practices. And Frank was one of of course, the biggest resistors and went on public record saying there's nothing, there's no problem, there's no crisis, there's nothing going on here. Look where we are now, though.
Well, it kind of led to that whole Jenga tower that collapsed on us.
And it was a domino effect. I mean, in 2006, values maxed out. Then the subprime interest loans, all of those began to adjust. The borrowers started to default, and then the dominoes just kept going after that. The credit crunch. I mean, it just why we are.
That was the subprime crash in the early '90s, and then they forgot about it by about 2004.
Yeah.
And then that's when they started coming out with,
because the market was so hot, and
and that's when they started coming out. Oh, this isn't our first rodeo. We have short memories.
Well, there you have it, folks. We now know that the entire problem is on the shoulders of the retired Barney Frank, Chris Dodd, and I think Maxine Waters is retired, isn't she?
No, she is not.
No, and Maxine Waters. So get on them about this. And next time they say, I don't know what you're talking about,
yes, you do.
Tell them, yes, you do, because I heard it on Keeping It Real Estate.
Google that.
And I will need security to get to my car today.
Yeah. Big bank.